Hello, and thank you for joining us for this year's 2022 National Entrepreneurship Week. I am thrilled to kick off our last event with a recording from Dr. Michael Baston, president of SUNY Rockland Community College in New York. This recording is from NACCE's 2021 annual conference last year, so please enjoy.
We ought to be excited because we know that if we are going to be successful, it's not because we're quiet and shy and retiring. It is because we think big, we dream big, we are bold, and we believe in the power of the possible. For these few moments that I have with you, I get to talk to you about steps beyond statements because it is not enough to make great statements. We must continue to make the bold steps that will change the current structures in this country that need changing so that lives can be improved. And I want to ground my talk with you tonight from this idea of a question: do you have the will to find a way? Do you have the will to find a way? Think about what we have just experienced and we are still experiencing in this pandemic. And you look at the race to develop a vaccine. Now, vaccine development is a long, complex process, often taking 5 or 10 years. It involves public and private involvement. To be able to develop a vaccine, you have to go through years of discovery and preclinical and clinical trial phases. And then there's got to be testing and review processes. And if we had simply waited and gone through this lengthy process, many more Americans and people around the world would have succumbed to the deadly coronavirus. But the world had the will to find a way. Scientists all over the world began to collaborate in ways that they had not before. They looked at all the years of previous research into similar viruses to focus on addressing the pandemic. Scientists had access to money and resources and began vaccine production before the clinical trials had ended. Clinical phases overlapped to avoid some of the downtime. Thousands of people volunteered to participate in the U.S. trials. We had the will to find a way. When schools closed and face-to-face instruction came to an end, schools all around the country shifted to virtual instruction. Faculty were provided some professional development, but often relied on each other to fill in the gaps of their knowledge. We worked diligently to get virtual resources online for our students, and where possible, we tried to get them laptops and hotspots and tablets and all the other resources that they needed to continue their studies. We had the will to find a way. We are not the only ones that have had to find the will and find a way. The words of the Declaration of Independence still inspire. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed with their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Independence did not come easy. The great struggle that ensued to free the nation from its bonds with England, they had the will to find a way. And even as this nation created the mythology of racial superiority, subjugation through slavery, literally seeking to pit blacks versus whites, and while it took an Emancipation Proclamation and a Civil War, we had the will to find a way. I think of a young man by the name of Henry Brown who desired to live a life of freedom. He, working with a white abolitionist, pressed his frame into a wooden box that was then mailed to a free state, and so that he could get away from racism and slavery. And he did not know where his box would end. But when the lid came off the box and he came out of that box, he was able to breathe free because he had the will to find a way. My friends, this nation's changes have not come easy. Even after the Emancipation Proclamation, there was Jim Crow and other segregation. And so there had to be bus boycotts and economic pressures and legal challenges and changes. But we still had the will to find a way. They changed America and renewed us. And so we are in a time, my friends, of renewal. You see, today we can no longer allow Americans to live in two types of America. One that too easily favors the haves and dismisses the have-nots. One who allows folks to live not able to have food on the table for their families, while others live succulent lives. We have to find the will and find the way. We can do better. We must do better. And I am proud to be a part of the community college family because it is our mission as democracy's colleges to make sure that we have the will to find a way. We have always been the places of opportunity where people can dream again and believe again and hope again. And NACCE is trying to work to make sure that everyone has that opportunity to live the lives that they deserve. You ought to be grateful that you get the opportunity to help somebody, that you get the opportunity to build a bridge, that you get the opportunity to lift a hope, a dream, an aspiration. You ought to be grateful. We have to continue during this time together to find ways to build bridges with business and industry, to find ways to open up the hopes and dreams of those entrepreneurs, so that they too can be a part of the great American story of those who had the will to find a way.
Thank you, Dr. Michael Bastin, for inspiring us with your message about how entrepreneurial mindset changes lives. I would love to give a warm thank you to the NACCE Board of Directors. These are college presidents across the country that volunteer their time to help us grow this organization and have been instrumental in helping us with National Entrepreneurship Week. Likewise, I would love to thank the entire NACCE staff who work tirelessly day in and day out to make not only National Entrepreneurship Week special, but to provide a whole host of services, engagements, and opportunities to help you throughout the year on your journey. I'm excited to tell you that we had several hundred people actively engaged in NACCE's celebration of National Entrepreneurship Week from across the country. We had 35 partner organizations that were working alongside of us, and we had very successful response and engagement on social media platforms. So now I would love for you to tell me via Twitter. So you tweet me at Rebecca Corbin 7 and let me know what action or step you plan to take following National Entrepreneurship Week to take action in your community. Thank you again to everyone who joined us throughout every day this week. And now we will hear from College President in Hocking College, Dr. Betty Young, who's going to inspire us and share her own personal story of how entrepreneurship education changes families for the better.
Well, I want to start out, first of all, this is a humbling experience to receive this recognition. You know, I got started in higher education because of entrepreneurship. I graduated, I didn't go to college right out of high school. I was 10 years out and my white picket fence fell down. Big D don't mean Dallas. My daughter was on my hip and I had to figure out how I was going to put a life together. And so I started taking a couple classes at the local technical college to get ahead at work. And you know what? It worked. And I got promoted and I grew and all that. But some lowly counselor, John was his name, took me by the arm and said, you got to have a credential, a piece of paper in your hand that shows the rest of the world you know something. And that's going to help you. And so I continued to take classes and I went on over to Ohio University because back in those days, we're talking mid-80s, not everything transferred. So early in my career, I worked on transfer when I got into higher education, make sure that didn't happen to anybody else. So I drove 50 miles each direction to go to school. I worked full time, I raised my daughter, and I earned the associate degree in math and science, and quite frankly, the confidence that I could do college work. That's our students today. They're no different. And that drives my passion to do what I do. The associate degree in math and science and the confidence in my pocket, I said, I can't stop now. I went on to earn a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, a law degree, and a postdoctorate in business law. Now, I don't tell you that so you go, oh, Dr. Young. I tell you that because the life that you have in your hands with each of the students that passes through your institution is my life. It's that life. And we have that impact on not just individuals, but families. My daughter, I'm the first in the family to ever go to college, but my daughter, she graduated, went on to the university, went on to law school. She's a judge today. My granddaughter got a plan for medical school. It changes families, changes families. So I want to thank the staff from Hocking College that are here. Staff from Hocking, would you just stand up so they can see who you are? Because these are the people that make me look good every day. It's my team. And I want to thank my parents. I grew up on a farm. My dad wanted boys, 500 acres, 150 head of sheep, and he had me. So I learned to throw hay bales and I learned how to work. And that work ethic is one of the things that I think we're suffering from in a society today. Work has changed. The work ethic has also changed. And so we at Hocking College developed what we call the work college model. Students come to us and it's not work study, it's not student type things that we think about in the past where you might get a job at the library and you check out a few books but then you really study. No, we put people to work in jobs related to the fields of study that they're studying with us. And we have them do that work and get a supervisor's review weekly. So they know whether they're coming to work on time, putting the phone away, giving their best effort, dressed appropriately for the job, have the right attitude. They're very simple questions, but they're the questions that make the difference between a graduate from school A and a graduate from school B. It's a different way of approaching the student. That's what entrepreneurship is. Entrepreneurship says there might be a better way to fix the mousetrap. There might be a better way to get the result we want. And we have to be willing to take the risks because to not do it is to accept the status quo. And today, with the message that we have from here about diversity and inclusion, the status quo is not okay. It is not okay. So be bold, go forward, do good. I'll see you all at NACCE next year.
Thank you again to Dr. Young, and thank you to all of our attendees for joining us today and each day this week. If you missed any of our events, you can check out the recordings at NACCE.com. Now, to recap the week, on Monday, we talked about the value of entrepreneurship education. Tuesday, we dove into business tools and resources with IBM Skills Build and Verizon Small Business Digital Ready. Both are online platforms to skill and upskill learners, entrepreneurs, and small business owners that use support. Now, on Wednesday, we unpacked experiential learning and intellectual property with the Michelson Institute for Intellectual Property. And yesterday, we advanced equity and navigated new terrain with our friends from VentureWell. As we close out an amazing National Entrepreneurship Week, please do mark your calendar for NACCE's 2 flagship events this year: the annual conference in October in Boston and Makeshift in April in San Diego. Both events are hybrid, and we hope that you join us in person or virtually online. Now, for Makeshift, which is happening April 20th through 22nd, we do have a special promotion code for 20% off your ticket. Just use the code NATLESHIPWEEK. So National Entrepreneurship Week, just condensed a little bit, for 20% off of your registration. And if you're not a part of NACCE, we are a robust community of community college presidents, educators, administrators, and center directors focused on igniting entrepreneurship within our communities and on our campuses. And you can get all of the details and information of the recordings, membership, and register for Makeshift at NACCE.com. Thank you again for joining us this week. We'll see you at our next event.